The temperance movement was a social movement against the consumption of alcoholic beverages. People in the movement believed that drunkenness was a negative and could lead to harm to yourself and other people. The temperance movement began in the early 19th century and went on into the 20th century. The American Temperance Society in 1826, led by Lyman Beecher, was the beginning of the first organized national temperance movement in the U.S. Another group were the Sons of Temperance. The Sons of Temperance were a brotherhood of men who promoted the restriction of alcohol. They spread rapidly through the U.S. and parts of Canada. They were founded in 1842 in New York City, and although considered a brotherhood, they first allowed women to serve as guests, and eventually women were able to be fully admitted in 1886. After the Civil War, blacks were permitted to join as well. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was founded in Cleveland, Ohio in November 1864. Annie Wittenmeyer was elected president. In 1869, she was taken over by Frances Willard. Under Willard, the group took off, now attempting for reforms in labor laws, prison, and women's suffrage. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was the first group to focus on non-temperance issues while still having prohibition be the basis of keeping their reforms together. Some of the things the Women's Christian Temperance Union had supported and helped establish over the years include women's rights to vote, 8-hour workdays, equal pay for work, and dress reform. This political cartoon depicts what will happen when you continue to drink according to the Temperance Union. You start off with just a sip, and it leads to worse and worse things until you drink your life away.
The Anti-Saloon League, founded in 1893 by Howard Hyde Russell, was a group dedicated to the prohibition of alcohol. This group had many leaders, a few being Ernest Charrington, William E. Johnson, and the most prominent leader, Wayne Wheeler. This group had their most success in southern and western rural areas. It soon became the most influential group in 1895, and it created a national movement. Wayne Wheeler shifted the focus entirely on prohibition. To increase members, they would give out lectures on the effects of alcohol. The effects were, it could lead to addiction, poverty, and it also can lead to domestic abuse. Wayne Wheeler used pressure politics, which is using mass media to persuade politicians to pass the Volstead Act and the 18th Amendment. The 18th Amendment prohibited the manufacturing, transportation, and sale of alcohol. The Volstead Act enforced the 18th Amendment, and it got its name from Andrew Volstead. The 18th Amendment was later rescinded in 1933 after only being in effect for 14 years. It was rescinded since it caused higher crime rates and bootlegging. Bootlegging was the illegal manufacturing, transportation, and sale of alcohol. The Progressive Era was based on social activism and political reform. The temperance movement caused an increase in social activism due to the fact it got many people across the nation to prohibit alcohol. It allowed people to become more involved in politics by the passings of the 18th Amendment and the Volstead Act. The Anti-Saloon League is still continued today, but is now known as the American Council on Alcohol Beverages. This political cartoon represents what alcohol can lead to. It is showing alcohol in a barrel, saying they cause crime, poverty, regression, imprisonment, and even, in some cases, death.
Cut down on social problems, cut down on poverty, cut down on the abuse of women, because alcohol did cause a lot of problems, but really to improve the working conditions for their workers. The other prominent group that's very active in temperance movement is women.
The religious revivals of the 1820s and 1830s are very critical to bringing women into reform movements, because as mothers and as wives, they are concerned about habits such as drinking and intemperance. Drinking is correlated with violence, it can drink away wages, etc. So women get mobilized in a public political issue. At first, within the temperance movement, it's moral suasion and prayer, but over the century, women also get involved in politicking for change in the laws.